Now, if you guys like Asian horror movies, I'm pretty sure you guys seen the Ju-On series. The Ju-On series is very synonymous with Japanese horror movies today. In fact, this series, alongside with The Ring, popularized the whole long-haired ghost woman dressed in white. So the big question is, where does Ju-On stand as one of the iconic horror series in Asian cinema? Let's find out. So before we get into reviewing the entire Ju-On series, fair warning, there will be some spoilers here and there. However, I'll try to avoid doing any major spoilers. So this movie revolves around a suburban place called Nerima, which is based in Tokyo, Japan. And if you can sum up this entire Ju-On series in one sentence, it would be this: if you enter this cursed house, you will eventually die. That's it. One of the big things about this movie is that the curse actually has no cure. So even if you just put 1 foot in the house and 1 foot out of the house and do the hokey pokey and shake it all about, you are still screwed. So now looking at the Ju-On series as a whole, it spans 18 years, starting from the 1998 release Ju-On The Curse, all the way to the 2016 release Sayoko vs. Kayako. There are 12 Ju-On films in total, with 3 being American, The Grudge 1, 2, and 3, 2 spin-offs, Ju-On White Ghost and Black Ghost, and a reboot in 2014, Ju-On The Beginning of the End. So the movie revolves around the Saeki family curse. You got Takeo, the husband, Kayako, the wife, and Toshio, the son. While the Ju-On series has been around since 1998, it didn't get prominence until the 2002 hit Ju-On The Grudge, which was the first Ju-On film in the series to be released in Japanese theaters. The first 2 Ju-Ons, Ju-On The Curse and Ju-On The Curse 2, were actually straight to video. So not many people saw the horror series until the Ju-On The Grudge. Now that the overview is done, we're going to be talking about both the good and bad of the Ju-On series, starting with the good. And instead of reviewing each Ju-On film individually, I want to be reviewing the Ju-On series as a whole. Now the first thing is I really like the environment of the Ju-On series. Take the house for instance. The house looks very neat, plain, and like an ordinary house that you'd find in suburbia Japan. However, once you get inside, the Ju-On team actually made it feel creepy. Like, you know something is wrong with the house, but you just can't pin it. It just looks like a normal house. Well, except there's a curse that's trying to kill you. The house is creepy on its own, especially the second floor where you see the victims. Just go to the second floor, enter this room, see this closet duct taped, and they wonder what's behind that. Why is there sounds behind that duct taped closet? So all the to-be victims are like, I'm just gonna open it. Now Toshio sets up a lot of traps and starts crying inside the closet, and that really just added to the environment of like, oh my gosh, something bad's gonna go down in this house, which looks normal. And as you guys can imagine, bad things do happen when the victims peel off the tape, open the closet, and see Toshio or Kayako in the closet. Adding on to what I liked about this movie is that the house itself is a character. In horror movies, there's usually one evil ghost or entity, but in this one, it's the house, and it makes it so scary. Like, the house itself is the character in the movie. It's what everything focuses on. In fact, out of the 12 movies in the Ju-On series, there's only 4 that stray away from the house. There's Ju-On White Ghost, Ju-On Black Ghost, the US version of The Grudge 3, and the Ju-On The Final Curse, the last pure Ju-On film in the series. The next thing I liked about the series is just how creepy it was, especially the first 4 films. They were among the most creepy movies I've seen in Japanese horror films. One of the most creepy scenes I loved in the Ju-On series came from Ju-On The Grudge 2. Now picture this, you're coming home at night to your apartment after a hard day of work, and you want to see your girlfriend. Your girlfriend, nice! But then you hear this thud, this bang on your apartment wall. You're like, what's that? You know, your girlfriend hasn't come home yet. You're kind of worried about her, but you know, she's a grown woman. She'll come back home eventually. So you check the room where this banging happens, but you don't find anything. You're like, but why is there banging? So you just ignore it because you don't see anything. Maybe the banging is just random, but then you keep hearing it again and again. And you're like, okay. Then you go, something's up. Something's weird with my apartment. And not until the clock turns to 12:27 a.m. do you notice a boy, Toshio, pushing this dead female's body against the wall while her hair is attached to the ceiling. And he's just playing around with his body, hitting the wall. And you see it. You finally just see what was causing this banging at 12:27. What would you do in this situation? Yeah, you would scream and probably run like hell and just be frightened. And that's exactly what happened in Ju-On 2 when a certain character finds himself in that exact situation. He's like, oh my god, why is there a boy pushing a dead woman's body in my apartment? The Saeki curse also fits into the movie quite well and adds both the horror creepiness and just general downright curse of the movie. Now, whether it's Kayako crawling down the stairs, Toshio doing his wailing, it gets pretty frightening at times watching this movie. And also, when you see the Saeki family curse at hand, you can notice the symbolism in this movie. And another great thing about this movie, people will get scared. Whether you're watching this movie at a Japanese culture club during Halloween, or watching this movie with the ladies, you can be certain that this movie will be frightening and entertaining to many people. I also like that the director, Takashi Shimizu, also experimented with the Ju-On series as it went on. He produced 3 American films, The Grudge 1, 2, and 3, which I didn't think were so bad, as well as doing spin-offs, White Ghost and Black Ghost. And with White Ghost and Black Ghost, they were trying to separate themselves a bit from the whole Saeki curse. I just liked how the Ju-On series is trying to experiment towards the middle of the series. And one of my favorite things about the Ju-On series is the anachrostic order it presents itself. But rather than show it in a linear order, first we're going to show what happens fourth, then what happens first, then second, then fifth, and so on. And I really like that because it forces the viewer to piece together the puzzle to understand the story better. Another thing I liked about this movie is how it actually featured 6 to 7 characters per film. Rather than just have one protagonist, it shows the different viewpoints and experiences of these people. And I really like that because you can see what happens to them through their eyes. And you can see what they experience, who they meet, and how they meet their unfortunate end. Now we gotta talk about the bad things about the Ju-On series. And this pains me because I'm a big fan of the Ju-On series. I really liked how it influenced modern Japanese horror. But I pull no punches. I have to talk about what was not so good about the series. Now the first major gripe I had about this movie is, why didn't they try to destroy or burn the house earlier or put more effort into doing so? Let me give you an example. In the first Ju-On The Grudge, as well as The Grudge, the US version, yes, they tried to burn the house. They did fail, but yes, they tried to burn the house. Now, when you find out that a house is cursed and anyone that enters it gets killed, and it shows up in news, all these people getting murdered, wouldn't you try to destroy the house? And the excuse the movie used was, the house can't be burned down. But isn't the house just cursed, not magical? I don't think the house is impervious to destruction or fire. But even if the house can't be destroyed and is magical, wouldn't the police put barricades around the house with a warning sign that says, if you enter this house, you'll die? Yeah, I know there'll be some people that still enter the house and die, but for the most part, it'll keep people out. You'll see the Saeki house being sold over and over again by a real estate agent, and families moving in to this cursed house. And as you guys know, people die once they enter the house. So I didn't get why there was not more effort into just blasting the house down. The house finally was destroyed in the last film, Ju-On The Final Curse, but it took 11 films to do that. I'm like, really? But by that time, the curse actually went outside of the house to infect someone else. Another thing about the movie is the victim's reaction. I know if you see a crawling Kayako or a kid going, you're gonna be hella frightened. You're gonna be hella scared. I get that. But nearly all of them just sat there in paralyzing fear while Kayako just crawled on them. Like, they didn't try to run, they didn't try opening the door, whether it's locked or not, they didn't try breaking open a window, they didn't do anything. You would think at least a few of them would try to do something. They just all sat there in fear and just died, didn't. And my biggest gripe, my biggest, most major complaint about the Ju-On series is that it got pretty repetitive fast. Yeah, they had some twists on the curse, but it got repetitive in the sense that there was no cure, there was no hope for the victims. Like, once you stepped inside the house, you were just waiting to see how they would die. Oh, someone stepped in, how are they gonna die? And that's it. In the first couple of films, not giving that hope, yeah, that was okay, because you were learning about the story, you're learning that, okay, there's a curse, it's killing people, and you don't know why or how it was created. But by the time it hits 11 films to Ju-On The Final Curse, you think detectives and police officers and exorcists would have a clue on how there would be a curse. And I felt the writing team not leaving a way out, or at least a hope of getting out, whether it's a sliver of hope or an actual legit hope to cure this curse, is a pretty bad omission, because viewers get bored. Viewers just know what to expect after the 4th or 5th or 6th Ju-On movie that, yeah, people are screwed. And I know in Ju-On The Final Curse, they tried to have that sliver of hope of trying to break the curse. It came 11 movies too late. So wrapping the series up, where does Ju-On stand as one of the great iconic Japanese horror films in Asian cinema? very high. I would rank it up there with The Ring. Despite its flaws, as you guys heard in my last section, it has the rank in the top 5, easily. I mean, it's so iconic. I know friends that hate horror movies, that will never see horror movies with me, but they know that girl dressed in white. They know that boy that screeches. Why? Because of Ju-on. That's how much of a phenomenon it is in Asia, as well as Asian horror movies. So watch this series if you just love horror movies. Like if you just love any sorts of horror, or you're trying to get into it, or you're trying to scare yourself to see how brave you are, you just gotta see this series. I mean, it's a must-see. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed our review of the Ju-on series. So what did you guys think about the Ju-on series? Was it great? Did it scare you? Did you agree or even disagree with my comments? I'd love to hear your comments in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed this review and want to learn Asian cinema in a fun and in-depth way, please hit the subscribe button below. And lastly, if you guys want more Asian movie suggestions, please sign up to our email list below and grab our free ebook, 108 Asian Movies to Watch. So until next time, we'll see you in the next Asian movie review. Take it easy, guys.